What's up, guys? Welcome to Talk Chain. I'm Rob. Below me is Matt.
Hey everyone.
Today we're going to talk about tZERO, which is a subsidiary of Overstock.com. They launched an ICO in December of last year, attracting over 10,000 registrations for accreditation verification, which is a requirement to subscribe for securities tokens. So it's reported that the token sale raised over $100 million in only 12 hours, and this ICO is intended to fund the future development of the tZERO token, as well as the security token trading system and platform that is tZERO.
Yeah, so the team actually of tZERO, and it's an impressive group of individuals. The one that I've spent the most time looking at is are videos by Patrick Byrne, who's the CEO and founder of Overstock.com. And Overstock actually was the first major online retailer to accept Bitcoin as a payment method. And so the company Overstock, you don't hear about them much, but the fact that they're still around in this world of Amazon.com is pretty impressive, even though they're not as big a player as Amazon. So this is sort of his vision. The other people involved with tZERO, Joe Camarata, he's the president of tZERO and remains CEO of agency brokerage firm SpeedRoute. Another dude is Ralph Dayuto. He's the tZERO COO, and he boasts over 2 decades of experience in overseeing legal, compliance, and regulatory governance and securities, which is very helpful for tZERO given the whole point of the platform, which we're going to get to in a second. And the final guy we wanted to call out is John Gilchrist, who is the CIO of tZERO as well. And he's got a lot of experience in managing and developing technologies in the securities sector. So it seems like everybody here is really set up for securities regulation and legal counsel involved in a securities type environment that's above board and open to the SEC to look at.
Definitely. All right, so these guys' vision, the vision of the team behind tZERO is to create a crypto solution for security token liquidity that is in compliance with securities law. So they also want to develop a platform that can be used worldwide, allowing investors to trade both traditional and emerging types of securities, aka securities tokens. And they also want to use blockchain technology. tZERO's goal is to transform capital markets by making them more transparent, liquid, and accessible. Going to the SEC, back when Jay Clayton was speaking in front of the Senate committee, he stated that ICOs are like a stock offering. He went on to say that from what he's seen, ICO security offerings, or ICOs are security offerings, and they're interesting companies, much like stocks and bonds, just under a new label. Finally, he said you can call it a coin, but if it functions as a security, it's a security.
Right, so this is actually relevant, and if we use the Dow hack as an example, which happened in a few years ago, I guess, a year ago.
Yeah,
Anyway, so
that
the
was a couple
SEC,
years ago.
yeah, the SEC did investigate it, but they didn't prosecute the developers of the project. So they were considered to be securities, but they didn't bother prosecuting. And they talked about this Howey test that needs to be applied when deciding whether or not a token in an ICO is actually considered a security and whether or not it falls under the jurisdiction of the SEC. So yeah, do you want to talk about the Howey test, Rob?
Yeah, so the Howey test is something that goes back all the way to the 1934 Securities Exchange Act. And the SEC basically determined that any token that can't pass the Howey test should be considered a security. So so the requirements for the Howey test are, is it an investment of money or assets? Is the investment of money or assets in a common enterprise? Is there an expectation of profits from the investment? And does any profit come from the efforts of a promoter or a third party? And I think the most important one is any of the profit that comes from the investment largely or wholly outside of the investor's control?
Right. So when it comes to ICOs, some of them issue utility tokens, and so it's like another layer, and this might actually fall outside the definition of a security. Um, and if there's no investor rights or equity in the company, then it's sort of hard to piece it together. So this is something that's going to have to be figured out. And ICOs have started prohibiting U.S. citizens from participating in ICOs, specifically because the SEC regulations aren't particularly clear. And we've seen this with, the Petro from Venezuela. Everybody's been encouraged in the USA to not invest in it, given that there's sanctions between the USA or on Venezuela for the USA. So this is something that has to be clarified.
Yeah, definitely. So, what tZERO's solution is, because they recognize that regulation is inevitable, and I think everyone in the space is starting to realize that as well. So, the company claims to be the first to issue a preferred stock security token, which is Overstock's blockchain voting A series preferred stock, which is in accordance with applicable U.S., state, and federal securities laws.
Right, so the token itself, the fine print in their white paper says that tZERO tokens will be offered, or tZERO tokens when offered and sold will not be registered under the U.S. Securities Act. Tokens will be offered and sold pursuant to one or more exceptions from the jurisdiction requirements of the Securities Act and any other applicable jurisdiction. So from a potential investor's perspective then, they view the ICO as being conducted in accordance with the U.S. securities regulations, whereas the tokens themselves are not actually securities. So they describe a hybrid token offering the best features of traditional securities, with all the accompanying rights and protections afforded them, along with the benefits and utility tokens commonly issued in an ICO.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the best of both worlds in a way. Like if you're getting some ownership of tZERO, then that would be fantastic, because that's one of the downfalls of a lot of the ICOs that we invest in. There's not necessarily any ownership in the company, and the only thing that a lot of us are riding on is the fact that the creators of it want to see the token do well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that you're hoping that somebody is going to pay more for it tomorrow than you paid for it today.
Yes, but only because the technology is so great, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so a really good thing about tZERO is that they've already got a number of products that are in operation and a number of assets in their portfolio. So one of the most important ones to Patrick Byrne is this digital locate receipt software. So what the digital locate receipt software does is it works to prevent unmitigated naked short selling. And it does that by recording all transactions electronically. So Matt, do you know anything about naked short selling, or what, or maybe you can give an explanation of what that is?
Sure, yeah. It's a good way to lose a lot of money or make a lot of money. So for those who don't know what short selling is, it involves borrowing an amount of stock and then selling it. So the way this works normally, or you can short sell in a bunch of different ways, but just straight up short selling some stock. The problem that Patrick Byrne's identified is that the brokers that are involved in naked short selling, they have to find stock that can be borrowed, and when they get this stock, they have to it's a locate. They call it a locate, and then they allow another brokerage to use those shares so somebody can sell them on the market, and that's considered a short position then. So the problem is that these brokerage firms like Goldman Sachs, they're able to provide locates to multiple different exchanges, and there's not a great way of verifying that there's a connection between a single locate and a single brokerage that was able to short that stock. So what Goldman does is they collect fees from multiple different brokers for one group of stock that has been able to be shorted. And that's the problem, is that there's no connection between a group of stock that's being shorted and who has their name on it in that locate. Instead, it's being given to multiple different exchanges.
Okay. And then as a result, it's forcing the price of whatever that investment is downward.
Right. So it's artificially inflating the amount of shares that are able to be shorted. So
Right.
normally there would only be one, but they do it in a fractional reserve type way, where one group of stock is being used multiple times to short.
Okay. Okay. Now, Patrick Byrne has had an extreme beef with all of Wall Street, the SEC, and anyone else he could really point fingers at because of this naked short selling. He believes that a lot of players were influencing the price of the stock of Overstock.com. So it upset him so much that he sued every investment bank in the United States, and he has carried this anger forward to the point where he has created this tZERO platform. So this DLR software, the digital locate receipt software, is entirely to prevent naked short selling from occurring on his platform, and really just to show, or just to have more openness in the markets. So a couple other products that they've got going on right now. They've got speed route execution services, so which is another subsidiary of tZERO. It's got a vast network of brokerage clients. It uses smart order routing to execute equities orders. And it's anticipated that tZERO is going to build on SpeedRoute's technology and incorporate token trading capabilities through them. They also have another product called Blue Ocean, which is an overnight trading platform for U.S. equities. And they're just going to bring that over to securities tokens so it can operate on a 24-hour basis. They're going to use their alternative trading system to allow traders to trade the securities outside of those hours.
So from what I understand, Blue Ocean is actually already an SEC-approved, SEC-regulated system.
Right, definitely.
So one of the unique things about tZERO is that they don't have to go through the hurdles to be approved by the SEC like a traditional exchange would need to do. You know, something like Binance would have to go through this effort to become under SEC regulation standards. But Blue Ocean is actually already under SEC regulation, so that hurdle's already been accomplished here.
Yeah, so essentially what they did with that and with tZERO is it was already approved through the SEC when Overstock got involved, whenever they decided to purchase tZERO. And yeah, so they just blockchainized or made it blockchain ready. And now they've already got this SEC approved platform. Probably not something that the SEC really likes that much, but it's a loophole that they kind of snuck their way in. So hopefully that will kind of go smoothly as time goes on. They've got discount retail trading through Siebert Financial Corporation. So they've signed a letter of intent to provide discount online trading of U.S. equities to tZERO customers, as well as robo-advising through tZERO Advisors, which they plan to launch sometime in 2018 at some highly competitive rates. And they've also got the trading platform, the tZERO trading platform, and planned token trading system. So that's been operational since 2016. That's what the Overstock blockchain voting A series preferred stock is running on currently. So that all those trades are operated on the blockchain, and they plan to scale up on that platform to include securities tokens. This is probably going to be the biggest challenge associated with it, because trading one preferred stock versus thousands of securities tokens when they eventually all come out is a really far stretch. So hopefully they've got a good plan lined out. And but yeah, so that's like a good summary of what tZERO plans to do. And Matt, you got any other insights
Well,
on that?
in terms of the scaling, it's hard for us to actually evaluate whether or not their platform will be able to do it. Like we can't really see from the outside and see whether or not it's capable, and it looks like there's just going to be typical growing pains when it comes to any exchange. And the crypto world has seen its fair share of exchanges that have struggled with trying to scale up the number of customers that they have. So it's probably going to go through typical growing pains. But personally, I think the most unique thing is that this is going to be SEC regulated, which is unheard of seemingly in this market. So I think there's no real if you're going to release a token or something to choose this is a no-brainer. It seems like, just given that you're not going to have to worry about these unknown knowns in the future when the U.S. government's actually going to come in and regulate, and there's no question that that's going to happen. And just hearing the fact that in the last 2 weeks, the SEC chairman mentioned that he treats all ICOs as securities, it's something that's definitely going to be an unmet need in the future.
Definitely, and I think you're going to see kind of a slow growth. The good thing is because it's not going to be like a Binance with immediately 100 tokens on it. It's not going to try to compete with that. It will add securities tokens at a slow pace. So hopefully they can keep it at an amount that their system can handle and kind of grow that way.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see where the tZERO token itself will trade, because it is an ICO, not a securities token offering.
Mm-hmm.
So it could technically trade on KuCoin, Binance, any of the other major exchanges. So that'll be an interesting one. Do you think that it's something that you're going to invest in once that gets released to I guess it would be the general public?
Yeah. So the ICO offering, it got extended until March 30th, so everybody can keep their eyes out after March 30th to see where it's going to go from there. I signed up to get in on the ICO, but I'm not an accredited investor, so I didn't do it. I would have liked to jump on this project just because it seems like there's a lot of promise. So after March 30th, I'm definitely going to keep my eyes out and put in a position.
Yeah, it's tough. I think, yeah, like I said, they had 10,000 people signing up to try to be an accredited investor.
Mm-hmm.
And just to get in at the $10 price range, because I think a lot of people agree that it's going to skyrocket based on it really being the only exchange that's approved by the SEC to operate with these securities tokens. And I think a lot of people also agree that securities tokens are the way that everything's going to go, and it's not going to look great if you're just having a normal ICO when your competition is doing securities tokens.
Yeah, definitely. And we talked about Polymath last week, and everybody should go and check out that video because they're another securities-based token that has a sort of a unique area. I don't think they're quite as established as tZERO is going to be, or quite as large in scope, but they're definitely worth looking at.
Yeah, and I think a quick summary of Polymath is they're going to try to be the Ethereum of securities tokens, and Patrick Byrne is actually an advisor on Polymath, so hopefully he can give them a significant amount of insight on how to succeed in the space.
Yeah, definitely. So other than that, I'm just going to keep my eyes open and look out for where it's going to go after March 30th.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be involved. I will be kind of saving up some fiat currency to get involved over the next couple months.
Yeah.
But that should be it for today, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe again. Matt, anything else to add?
Follow us at TalkChainPod on Twitter and Steam and Facebook.
Yeah, share, Facebook, Reddit, anywhere you can think of. But that's it for today, guys. Take care.
Thanks a lot. See you next time.